Hey everyone, welcome to Foreplay Fireside. Today we're talking to Maxwell Finn, the founder of Unicorn Innovations, on the state of paid ads in 2025. There's a state, we're in it, but what is that state? You're probably experiencing it, and Max is here to walk us through what's going on. So Max, over to you. What's happening?
A lot of stuff. It's never a dull moment in our industry. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of where where I see things right now, and then more importantly, what you should be doing and focusing on if you're running ads, right? So we're gonna go through. I have a deck right here that we'll go through, but I also want to I want to dive into a lot of stuff. So I have probably 30 tabs open, and we're going to go through a bunch of different tools that we use. Some you're probably familiar with, but some you might not be. And the ones that you may be familiar with, just more efficient and effective ways to use those tools, whether it's chat, whether it's Claude, whether it's Gemini, which are the popular ones. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't use them effectively and aren't really tapping into AI. So without further ado, let's jump right in here. And by the way, Jack, I don't know how it's obviously your form. I don't know how you like to run this. If you want to hold all questions to the end or you want to interject, I'm fine with either. Like, I like to make it more interactive. So feel free to, if you have a question, I want to chat about something, dive deeper, let me know, or if somebody in the chat, but your call, totally there.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, let's just keep it agile. Like, do whatever
Cool.
feels good.
Sounds good. So the big thing that I try to anybody that I talk to in the space, I try to make this really, really clear to them is for a really long time. I've been in this space since early 2010 and kind of was on the early wave of Facebook and then very early on TikTok, and I've kind of seen these waves happen. And what I've seen through that time is people that are not great marketers, who don't have great products, great businesses, they're kind of missing everything, make a lot of money because they were able to find these really interesting arbitrage opportunities where they're able to find a specific hack or a tactic or a way to run something on Google or Facebook or whatever channel and make a lot of money. There's always going to be arbitrage opportunities. I'll make that very clear. But what I do see is those opportunities getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the gains for the amount of input in terms of resource you need to put in to get the gains shrinking and not really being worth it as much anymore. And so, there were days where it's like, hey, if you duplicate this ad set 20 times and you set each one at a $10 a day budget and you run it for this long, you make money. And, I still see people sharing strategies like that. But at the end of the day, I really don't think that's what you should be spending your time on. On top of that, you have these algorithms getting a lot more advanced. What that means is the platforms are doing more, we are doing less of the time-consuming, tedious stuff, but we should be putting that time into other things that we'll get into in just a few slides of where the time should be going. What that really means is you need to be focused on how do I send the highest quality, most valuable data back to these tools, because they only work with data, right? And so if you're sending crap data back, if you're not correctly setting up both, Pixel and server to server and have data enrichment, all this stuff happening, you're going to get less optimal outputs. So understanding that's really important. And then in terms of just a mindset shift, right? Where should I be putting my time, my effort, my resources? That's going to require a massive reshift for a lot of people. Whether you're an agency, whether you're a small business, whether you're just a media buyer running stuff, the things you used to spend a lot of time on, you don't need to spend as much time on anymore. And so it's okay, if I have all this extra hours a week now, what should I be doing with those extra hours? And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So just to reiterate this kind of point about the platform tricks fading and algorithm sophistication and all that stuff, I'm sure a lot of you have followed in the last few weeks. Zuck was at an event at a conference and was being interviewed, and basically in that interview, there's an exact quote, but essentially what it summed up to is we are building kind of an end-to-end ad solution where the ideal scenario in Zuck's mind is you come to Facebook, you tell them what your goal is, what your budget is, where you want people to go, and they do everything else. That they're going to fully run the entire ad buying process, from making the images to doing the targeting to doing the bidding to everything in between. Now, we all know that that's not going to happen by the end of 2026, right? There's so many variables there. It's just, for one, like the reliability of Meta's data, their numbers, right? If those are off, then everything's off. The creative is just going to be mediocre, all these things. However, it's important to still recognize that that's the path they're going, right? That's inevitably where this ends up, is TikTok, Facebook, Google, Snap, Twitter, Reddit, whatever the platform is going to take more and more control away from you and give themselves more control, make you depend more on them. So again, that goes back to, well, what should I be focusing on? And beginning to prepare for that today, because that is the inevitable future, is this kind of black box where they control everything. And so then it's like, okay, what do I do? And so what I look at right now and going into 2020, into 2025, 2026, kind of three big core success factors you should be focused on, regardless of where you fall in the spectrum, whether you're the agency owner, whether you're the business owner, whether the media buyer. Strong backend, compelling offer, and then focus on creative angles. I view those three as the kind of biggest levers and pillars that anybody running any type of paid media should be focused on right now. And especially if you're an agency, a media buying agency, or you're a solo media buyer, you need to start developing these skills, right? This is where I see a big issue happening in the coming months of a lot of people who, either agencies or just solo media buyers who have 4 or 5, 6 clients. They've been able to do very well for a long time by just, running ads. And as that gets more and more and more automated, and business owners get more and more familiar with AI tools, you need to level up your skills and what you're offering those businesses to stay relevant and valuable. And so it means, like, the days of you just being like, I'm just going to stay in Facebook Ads Manager, that's my entire scope and world, is just pushing buttons, uploading your creative and doing that. Like, you're going to be out of a job. If that's what you do, that's the value you bring, you will not have a job probably by the end of the year. I would say, maybe you find some people that are just at some like really small businesses, they can pay you $2,000 a month, whatever. But any medium-sized to large business, like, you're not going to be valuable enough. And so you need to develop these skills of, how do I support them on offer optimization? How do I support them on landing page optimization? How do I bring new ideas to, hey guys, we should be testing an advertorial or a pre-sale or a quiz funnel, and supporting and actually developing that with them collaboratively, because these aren't siloed things, and they never have been siloed things. But especially nowadays with all the AI advances, there is a deep need for personalization and congruency from ad to backend. And the cool thing is, now with a lot of apps out there, there is the ability to kind of begin to do this at scale. And I think that's where we end up in the next, I would say next 12 to 18 months. There'll be solutions where, whether it's people building their own stuff with Replit, Lovable, VO, or just somebody comes out with a software stack and somebody can join, where you can do that at a very, very individual level. So the actual ad creative, the copy, is speaking to a very, very specific individual. The landing page they go to is personalized for that individual. The offer positioning, even potentially the pricing, can become dynamic. There's so many things that are going to be able to happen and unlock. And so you, as that marketer, you as that media buyer, you need to know this stuff. You need to be able to become an expert at this and bring this to the table. If you can bring this to the table and all the other stuff we're going to talk about the rest of the presentation, you're going to be good. And I think that's the fear I see right now from a lot of people, not just in our world, but in every industry, is, am I going to be replaced by AI? Right? Is my job going to be safe? And what I believe is going to happen, at least in the short and midterm, long term, it's impossible to predict, right? Is the kind of bottom half, maybe bottom 60, 70% of the talent pool is going to be at risk of getting replaced. The top percent, the top kind of quartile of talent that learns how to leverage this stuff, is going to become exponentially more valuable. Because if I'm a business, I can say, instead of going to this agency and paying them, 10, 15, 20K a month for all these different services and getting kind of mediocre talent, I'm going to go over here, work with this rock star who can do the job of 3, 4, or 5 people. It's way more talented. They're controlling all of it. So it's going to be super congruent. Everything's going to be aligned. And that's what I think we're going to see a big move towards.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We've got a couple of questions here.
Yeah, go for it.
One from Jessica, which I think is quite funny. What is a strong backend?
That's a great question. So basically everything that happens post first purchase, right? So the ability to kind of, if you look at the text under here, CLTV stands for customer lifetime value. So, and if you go more specific than that, kind of CLGP, which is customer lifetime gross profit, which I think is even a better metric to look at. The reality is most people get hyper focused on acquiring new customers. And of course, we need new customers. You can't do anything without them. But that's not actually the most valuable purchase. The most valuable purchase is the second purchase. The statistics, I don't have off the top of my head, but if you just go to chat or Google and search this, you'll get the stats right away. The increase in value of that customer when they buy a second time is massive. Every metric, from the likelihood they buy a third time, their lifetime value, the the AOV of that second purchase, everything just increases, and it's not linear. It becomes like kind of exponential. And so, as a business owner, it's, how do I ascend people? How do I move people from that first purchase to moving to subscription, from moving to my high ticket offer? That's really a big focus, because again, what that allows you to do is pay a lot more to acquire customers and be more competitive. And so, sorry, I got something I shouldn't. I was like, I crushed a granola bar before we started talking, and I was like, that's going to bite me in the ass, granola bar, right? So, and it just got locked right in there. So what I've noticed, running a lot of media for a lot of amazing businesses over the last 12, 15 years, is the businesses that are most successful, the businesses that we've seen go from 7 to 8 to 9 figures, are all willing and able to spend more to acquire a customer than all their competitors, right? So like, for example, Onnit, we've run performance media for Onnit for over 5 years. We've driven 150,000 customers to them. And performance means we front the ad spend, they pay us a CPA. When we started running ads for them back in, 2018, 2019, they were paying us $45 for a Alpha Brain customer. That's their main product, the Tropic. By the time we've kind of wound on the relationship, but because we moved out of performance media entirely, but by the time we were kind of at the end of that relationship about a year ago, they were willing to pay us $200 to acquire that customer. So they went from $45 to over $200 for the exact same customer for the same product. Price didn't change, nothing changed. And that's just because they continue to refine and dial in their first time to subscription. They continue to refine their numbers, their metrics, and they just want to get more and more aggressive because they knew, hey, once I got a customer in here, I know what that customer is worth to me. So if you're a supplement, if you're another nootropic business, like that's who you're competing with, a company that's willing to pay 2, 3, 4 times more than you. Same thing with ClickFunnels, right? What Russell's willing to pay to acquire a customer is significantly higher than what they're making day one on basically all of their funnels. Every funnel they have, whether it's a book funnel, whatever it is all built around selling ClickFunnels on the back end without selling ClickFunnels. And so again, if you're selling competing SaaS, he's going to outspend you and be willing to pay more to acquire the customer. So that's why it's really important that you focus on this back end, not just the front end, because that gives you a really big competitive advantage when it comes to acquiring those customers.
We've got a cool comment from Josh here. That's because ads are an auction. I think it's a question. They're saying, is that because ads are an auction?
Well, that definitely impacts your competitiveness, right? If you're in an auction environment, supply and demand, and if I'm willing to pay more than you, I win that auction. And especially if I'm willing to leverage anything but manual bidding, I'm signaling to Facebook, I'm signaling to Google, to TikTok, how confident I am in my business, that I'm willing to pay more to acquire a customer than this person. And so you also get customers put in different buckets, different tiers. I can get higher quality customers. That feeds back better data into the platform, which helps me refine that learning, get more better customers. So it creates this really cool flywheel. So yeah, that's short answer is yes, the auction environment plays a big role in why that's so important.
Nice. We got another question here before we move on to marketing psychology. I just want to make sure that this one, if it relates to what we're talking about, gets answered. How do we adapt on Meta's latest algorithm update with regards to Andromeda Advantage Plus about creative volume diversity? And does that mean minimal tweaks on ads, whether on hooks, ad copies, is not going to work anymore? I don't know what Andromeda Advantage Plus is, so that might be really new. And hooks, small tweaks aren't going to work anymore. Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they're moving more towards like ad personalization. So this is just a like a advancement in machine learning, kind of end of December with them. But it goes back to just, I mean, Advantage Plus, just the way they're moving in terms of leveraging AI. Um, Small incremental changes I still think are important, right? So the way I look at creative testing is twofold. One is incremental iterations to find to either extend the longevity of a winner and or find kind of nuanced pockets of like messaging that outperform that control, and then on top of that taking big swings. So it's, for us, it's a blend of both things. It's, we want to take big swings on a regular basis to find that next big home run. But I think a lot of people, what they do is they're constantly maybe taking that big swing, and when they find a winner, they just run it for as long as they can and move on to the next thing. It's like, no, you found a winner. There are so many ways to skin that cat. Or there are so many ways to turn that winner into 10, 50, 100 different winners, right? It's, I can swap the hook out. I can get a totally different avatar to read the exact same script. I can do a different intro motion of something crazy happening. I can have a different text overlay. There are almost an unlimited amount of tweaks you can make to that. And, are most of those going to give big gains? Probably not, because they're incremental. But if I have a winner, I don't need to even have that really big of gains on it. As long as I'm getting kind of equal performance, it just gives me more fuel to keep running stuff for longer.
that's such a great point. When I read that, I was thinking, minimal tweaks not going to work anymore. I thought, well, if the ad's not working in the first place, a minimal tweak is probably not going to fix it.
No,
You probably need to change things up. But a minimal tweak on a winner and iterating on that and pouring more gas on the fire, giving yourself more swings at bat. That seems like there shouldn't really be a reason why Advantage Plus and the push towards more automation would interrupt with that.
it wouldn't. If anything, those tools are actually doing that, right? If you look at a lot of the kind of Advantage Plus, the suggestions they'll make on creative, because they do a lot of different things. They'll add sound to it. They'll make little tiny tweaks. A lot of those are relatively incremental. Like, they're not doing anything when it comes to Meta's creative AI. That's like a massive swing on a piece of creative right now. It's just the tech isn't there yet. So yeah, the short answer is I still think everybody, if you have a winner, you should be doing iterative testing on that, different variations. But you should also simultaneously be taking those profits and reinvesting them into taking some big swings. Cool. So let's dive in here on some marketing psychology. This is the thing that, like, I pretty much spend all my time for the most part on AI and psychology. Like, most of my day is reading or testing something in this world, right? Consumer psychology, neuroscience, neuromarketing, behavioral economics. Now, the reason I focus so much on that is because it's evergreen. The challenge, I think, sometimes with being in our world, we're always testing the latest, greatest thing. Oh, it's Facebook. No, it's TikTok. No, it's this. No, it's this. And we get so focused on the medium. We get so focused on the vehicle that we forget that these are just means. Like, whether it's TV, radio, print, Facebook, whatever the next big thing is, ChatGPT, search ads, whatever it might be, at the end of the day, they're just a means to get a message in front of a person, right? And so what I really care about is, like, what's that message? How do I create the best message possible? Because if I can do that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the next big ad platform is. I'm going to do very, very well with it. And unfortunately, like, a lot of people do it the reverse. They get hyper focused on learning Facebook ad strategies and Facebook ad tactics and stuff, and they neglect the fundamentals. And because of that, their ads suck, right? If you just have generic mediocre copy, which is just, product XYZ is loved by 3,000 people and it has 3-4 bullets on features, and that's, there's no differentiator. Like, nobody's going to stop to scroll and want that. Nobody's going to get excited about that. And so, I spend a lot of my time on this, and it's so impactful. Right? Here's just like some kind of fun, stories and kind of case studies that I get really into these types of experiments, real world examples, because I think it's good to illustrate that. So there's a lot of things called cognitive biases, right? And one of those biases is the decoy effect. And there's a famous story from The Economist. When The Economist came out with their web version of the magazine, they priced it like the left. So they came out and said, hey, you can get an economist.com subscription, $59 for 1 year, or you can get print and web for $125. And they assumed, hey, a lot of people are going to take print and web. They get both, a lot of value. It's great, right? What they saw is 62% of people took the web only and 30% took print and web. So AOV was a lot lower than they wanted to be. What they did, without changing anything else to the core product, the marketing message, anything, is they just introduced a third option. And that third option was print only. And they priced print only the exact same as print and web only. Now, the reason they did this is they intentionally made this such a bad offer that now when I look at this, I'm comparing these two. I'm no longer even looking at this because now I'm saying, oh, for $125, I get basically web for free. So I've shifted where my focus is as a consumer making the decision. And you see this at, movie theaters used to do this more. They don't do it as much now, but movie theaters are a famous example with popcorn sizes, right? The reason there's a medium-sized popcorn is to push you to buy the large popcorn. Nobody, I see maybe like, I go to a lot of movies. I've seen a handful of people in my life eat a large popcorn and come back for a refill. Nobody needs that giant like bucket of popcorn. They buy it because it's like, for 50 cents more, you can get a large popcorn. It's like, oh, I got to get it, right? You're still spending more money though. And so this is something when you think about just like my pricing, my pricing page and how I'm positioning my offer, my product, understanding this is really, really powerful to increase your average order value. Or you have things like the pratfall effect, right? So a famous example here is you look at, Avis rental cars. Back in the day when they were, competing heavily with Hertz, they didn't really know how to compete there. They were really, really struggling. So they hired DDB and they leaned into the fact they're number two, right? Most brands would try to bury all the negative stuff. They're not going to focus on any of the bad things and the negative things. They're going to just focus on the reasons they're great and why you should love us and why you should trust us. What many, many studies and experience have shown is that if you can actually kind of admit flaws, it humanizes you because everyone's flawed and everyone makes mistakes. And it actually can increase ad performance, it can increase conversion rates, increase sales overall. And that's what happened with Avis, probably the most famous example of the pratfall effect. So within a year, they actually turned their first profit in 13 years. Their market share went from 29% to 36%. They went from losing millions a year to making millions a year. The team morale skyrocketed. And so there's so much that could be done here for your business if you understand these things, right? Decoy effect, pratfall effect. So what I recommend for anybody watching this is, go Google or go to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you use and search for cognitive biases. Give me a list of, 30 cognitive biases I should use in my marketing. Just start understanding these. There's a lot more, right? There's loss aversion where we feel the pain of a loss more than the benefit of a gain. So typically, if I'm using kind of gain framing, where what you're going to get, it needs to be at least 2 to 2.5 times greater than what my expected loss could be from that. So there's all these things that I need to understand as a marketer. And if I don't, I'm going to really struggle. So again, going back to, if I have more and more free time as a marketer to create my ads, to create my sales pages, to create my scripts, my creative, these are things you should be spending your time into mastering and learning and working them in, because you now have more free time for other stuff that you're not working on. Even just basic stuff, right? Like understanding how customers think. This is a pretty crazy story. So I think it was probably the 80s or 90s, I forget exact time frame, but A&W was wanting to compete with McDonald's on their quarter pounder. So this brilliant idea, they said, hey, we're going to come out with a third pounder, and then we're going to price the third pounder the exact same price as the quarter pounder. It's a great deal. It's more meat for the same price. It's a great deal. It totally bombed. And they eventually brought a focus group in, and the focus group asked a bunch of customers, well, why would you buy the McDonald's quarter pounder over the A&W third pounder? Every single person in the focus group said, well, why would I pay more for less? Or when I pay this, I get less meat, because people don't do math well. So everyone looked at just the bottom number, which is the 3, and 4 is bigger than 3. So everyone just assumed McDonald's is giving me a bigger burger. And I think this is a mistake a lot of people make with their ads. They overcomplicate it. You over-explain things. You require people to put a lot of mental effort into understanding the value of your product. And the truth is that the average person does not have very good math skills. The average person does not have, grad school level intelligence. And something as simple as this proves it, right? It's like, this should be pretty obvious, pretty basic math, right? We all learn fractions in, 5th grade, but the average person quickly looking at an ad just does, it's called heuristics, right? Mental shortcuts we do quickly. And so 3 is less than 4. This is less than that. I'm not going to go for it. So it flopped. So we had to even just reevaluating your ads, looking through your ad copy, looking through your creative. Is this something that a 5th grader could understand? Is this something that somebody could just see and instantly get it? Or does it require them to do a lot of thinking, a lot of work? And we want to avoid that, right? Just one last thing here. There's a great book I recommend everyone read called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner, who sadly passed away. But one of the greatest minds when it comes to this stuff, and just brilliant. The book is all about how we have kind of 2 parts to our brain. And we have the part that just reacts quickly, makes emotional, rash kind of decisions, and the part that makes logical, more thoughtful decisions. And we want to try to get to the one that just makes instant decisions, because we don't want people thinking for a long time on something. The longer they think, the more likely they're not going to buy. So this is really, really important stuff to understand. Cool. Let's switch gears a little bit and dive into just kind of the back half of this, which is psychology, understanding all that, critical for being successful in 2025 and beyond. The other side of it is obviously AI tools, right? I think anybody in this call knows this is what we should be focused on. This is not a trend. It's not a fad. This is transforming every aspect of our day across our personal lives, professional lives. It's kind of 4 big buckets that we look at using AI in right now: market audience research, creative development, ad account analysis, CRO optimization, and offer optimization. So those are kind of the 4 big buckets we're in there. So we'll go through kind of each one of those. We'll talk about some examples, some tools we're using. The first one is this is actually a great resource. If anybody's looking for something, I want to try to share some free tools as well. Prompt Cowboy. This is a great website you can go to. And basically it turns your lazy prompt, your generic prompt, into a really, really good, well-structured prompt. And this is really important, because what I see, the 2 biggest mistakes when I look at people that are using AI, especially early on, and like, it's okay. I don't get really good ad copy from it. I don't really get good ad ideas from it. I look at their, ChatGPT chat log or their Claude chat log, and like, well, you gave it 1 sentence. You said, write me 10 pieces of Facebook ad copy for my business that sells, collectible Batman things. It's like, okay, of course it's going to suck. There's no knowledge. There's no context. There's no information. There's no specific instructions. You're not telling it, who's my customer even? How should you write the copy? What should I model it off of? There's so many things you're not giving it. And so having a really strong prompt is really important. Now, if you can't write those prompts well yet, and you don't understand these platforms, a tool like this is going to be really helpful, because I can come in here, I can just paste what I wrote, and it's going to give me this prompt underneath it that, again, I can just now copy and paste this. I can also continue to improve it. So on this right side over here, you'll see, it kind of gives you some additional nudges. Hey, give me some examples, give me some ideal outcomes. And the more you give it those things, it'll keep improving and improving the prompt. And now I have a much stronger prompt to go into the tool I want to use and get much more in-depth and comprehensive results. So the first thing we really want to start with, and this, a lot of people skip this step when it comes to using AI, because they just jump right into it. Create me images, create me copy, is the customer research component. And so there's a lot of great tools out there for customer research. My favorite right now is definitely Gemini on the Google side of things. So if you look at let's go in. I actually have it running a report right now for an audit that I'm doing later. But let's go in here actually. So a prompt that we use for deep research for any new business we're running ads for. And basically what we want to get is just a really, really, really deep dive into who that customer is. So we essentially have, what's this up to now? 65. So there's 65 questions that we're giving the tool. And so we're saying, hey, context, I run this company. Here's the website. This is kind of a brief bit about it. Here's what your mission is. It's to go through, conduct comprehensive research, provide detailed answers about my target avatar so I can create the most profitable ads possible. Please answer all the following questions, specific, actual insights. So it's going through everything: demographic, pain points, goals, motivations, decision-making, communication preferences, solutions, value perception, psychological triggers, emotional drivers, buying psychology. And then what we end up with here is, on Gemini's side, they come out with, about a 31 page document that in depth answers all this stuff from, gender, income level, education, location, family status. It has all kinds of, it's referencing a massive amount of sources. What we'll also do is we'll run it through multiple tools. So not just Gemini, we'll also run it through, Claude. You can also run it through ChatGPT, because they all give kind of different types. They're all good at different things and have different strengths. So they'll give different, this is the exact same prompt, but you'll see it's totally different the way it gave me back and the information it gave me back, and the formatting. So we'll create this into a master doc. And now what we can do is we can take this document and we can load it into Claude or Chat as a project file, which is really, really important, right? When you're working on, let's go over to this over here. So when you're working in a environment like this, you want to have, let's see if it's in this one. Wealth Express, maybe it's this one. So you want to have as much information here as possible, right? So for example, this is a, one account we work on, and we just loaded something today with a bunch of different research. We have information research in here on, this is like a financial products company. So IOLs, annuities, all that stuff. So we have all kinds of, ebooks that have been written. We have webinar scripts. We have, deep research into the individual products. We have, the pitch deck on the offer. So we're giving it all of this data information. So now when we go to actually create copy or come up with ad ideas, it's not just basing it off of one or two sentences, which most people do. It's basing it off of a robust prompt, and then it's basing it off of all of this documents, and then it's basing it off of this extensive research. This is actually the one we put together for this business this week, actually. This is kind of a full-blown example of, this has got GPT-4.5, this has got Claude, this has got Gemini, it's got Grok. And again, these are all great because Grok is going to pull things from Twitter. So you're going to get totally different levels of data and access and information. And so now I have, again, this kind of monster document here that just as a campaign brief, it has, kind of high level angles that we can use. It has, different creative angles that it's come up with on the image side. So voice development. So there's just a massive amount of stuff that can be developed once you have the foundation in place. And so again, I think when you're thinking about using AI, it's more, I know it's tough to like, you want to just jump in and get stuff. It's all at speed, but it's so valuable if you just take a step back, come up with a plan, map it out, and actually just take your time and do it methodically. Don't just jump into the copy and creative part. Do the research, build out the knowledge base, create the right prompting structures, and then go in there. And now you can go in and say, once it's in there, now it's great. Now I can go in there and I can start kind of the next phase, and I can start doing, copywriting and creative development, all that stuff. Another thing you can stack onto this document, this is a tool called Apify. Great resource. What it basically has is tons and tons and tons of these things called actors, which are essentially just advanced scrapers. And so you can come in here, they have scrapers for everything: Amazon reviews, Facebook comments, Facebook reviews, anything you could think of, Apollo scrapers for CRM and B2B and stuff. What we like to use this for is going in and like finding who are your top 5-6 competitors, scrape all of their Amazon reviews, scrape all of their Facebook comments, and then run those through in Chat or Claude, whatever tool you want to use. Have it look for common complaints, common issues, common problems, and then identify those that you actually solve. Because what you might find is, hey, you have these big competitors, but you have a feature in your product that they're missing, and people actually really, really want that feature. So now I know that because I've gone through the reviews at scale, and now I can create ad angles around that, really calling that out. So that's one way we use it. The other way we use it is for going through comments and it's really easy. Again, you could just paste in any Facebook ad URL right in here. You could run this directly from this interface. You just click start, it'll run it, export it into JSON or table format. Or if you're more advanced and you know how to use N8N or Make or Zapier or these kind of agent platforms, you can integrate it through the API and do it automated. So we have a lot of this stuff running, a lot of scrapers running for end-to-end automations. I don't want to get too advanced in this call, but we basically, a website can come in from a lead. We can scrape that website. We can do kind of an AI deep research on it. We can build all this stuff out to do lead enrichment. Like we do some really cool stuff for lead generation. But for this purpose, you come in here, put a bunch of ads in, paste it in there, get all the comments. And then what I like to do is run those comments through a prompt to understand how my audience speaks. Because what I find is a lot of people that are running ads for businesses aren't the actual customer of that product, right? You might be a 25-year-old guy running ads for a magnetic lash brand. So you don't speak the same way that a 22-year-old girl who's really into magnetic lashes speaks. The words they use, the phrases they use, the terminology, the cadence, there's all these little nuances that you're not going to pick up on. But the way that those people speak in the comments and the reviews is how they speak. So even just doing that, grabbing the comments and then saying, hey, look for common words, phrases, ways they speak. And so that basically create a framework and guide for me to use for writing ad copy. And now I can run future ad copy through this kind of filter to just improve it and make it more personal and sound like they wrote it, sound like it's one of their friends who wrote it. And it just dramatically increases click-through rates, relevancy scores, quality scores across the board. All right. AI for copywriting. So I'm a huge fan of Claude when it comes to writing copy. It just, in my experience, has done the best job of writing high quality ad copy, sales page copy, VSL scripts, whatever you might use it for. Again, the key part of this is making sure you're starting with that foundation so it knows everything about that business. But again, going in there and not just saying, write me a Facebook ad for business X about Y, because you're going to get crap results, but going in and giving it an actual robust prompt, right? So here's like a prompt. We, Daily Wire was a client of ours. So we ran all of their stuff for their razor and e-commerce brand. So going in and saying, hey, here's the situation. You're a world-class copywriter. You specialize in creating persuasive, high-converting direct response ad copy, specifically for Meta. You draw inspiration from these legendary copywriters. You've understand, you've read and studied these books. These are all incredible books when it comes to copywriting advertising. Then I'm saying, here's your task. I want you to create this for these people. Here's the objective. Here's the knowledge, right? This is the target audience profile. Here's the brand voice and positioning. Here's some, product details. Here's the brand story. Here's the website. So it's so much more information to work off of. And then in addition, you also have all of the research and all the information in the project file that I can pull from. And now it's going to give me, 6 headlines, 6 pieces of ad copy, varying lengths. This is a short form origin story hook. This is a, long form emotional narrative, and this stuff turns out pretty good, right? It's every morning you look in the mirror and see a man who's standing for something. You work hard, you speak the truth, you don't apologize for being masculine. So why you're handing to companies that think you're the problem, right? It understands the brand, the positioning, the tone of voice. So yeah, a lot of variety here, a lot of good stuff. And then you create a feedback loop where you're now letting it know when you create future copy, hey, this ad copy worked really well. So it's able to begin to learn and evolve on that. Claude's a little different because Claude doesn't have memory across chats. So it's really just self-contained, but ChatGPT has memory. So especially if you're using chat, like it's going to learn and continue to get better over time with everything you're doing across the board. So as long as you're sending that data back and letting them know, you create that feedback loop, and each iterative version of that copy or a new form of copy will be that much better. All right. So let's dive into some fun stuff here, which I know everyone really cares about based on, it being a Foreplay call, is the creative part of it. So this is the part that's so cool. Like, I think when you combine what the Foreplay team's doing of just having such extensive access to research and studying creative and learning from creative, with the ability to now create concepts and ads really quickly for very, very low amounts of money, it's really cool. Like, this is the part I'm most excited about, because it's just totally shrunk and democratized the ability for anybody now to produce like Hollywood level creative from their laptop for a few bucks. So these are two examples for anybody that's not seen a VO3 video. They've been going viral all over the place, but this is Google's new video generation model that can do dialogue and visuals. So here's two videos that we made, and we've actually run these and got good results with them. This is like a 2.5x ROAS from this video. This one we just started running, but I'll just play both real quick and we can talk about them.
Yo, what's good?
I should probably also say, so this is it's a conservative collectible business. So we're running stuff for like 4th of July, and we have an Independence Day product line. So we're doing like a 1776 theme for this ad of somebody, basically of vlog style, Continental Army soldier fighting in the Revolutionary War.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Timothy. Day 47 out here fighting the Brits. Still no shoes. Toes are literally blue, but we stay grinding for freedom. Am I right? Bro, crossing the Delaware right now. Water's freezing. I can't feel anything. This better be worth it. We won. We actually won. Your boy survived. Still got no shoes, but we got freedom, baby. USA! USA! All right, time to treat myself after all that. Proudpatriots.com. Yo, they got Continental Army drip. Add into cart and checkout. See, kids? Fight for freedom, then support patriot businesses.
So that's one. And again, the crazy thing about this is, so you need a Google AI account, which is expensive. It's like $150 or so a month. Or you could run it through, there's tools like Leonardo AI. I think they charge about $3 or so a video if you do it through the API. So it's not cheap in the software world, but compare it, like that basically cost me a few bucks, maybe 15 minutes of time, 20 minutes of time going back and forth, making a few variations, but was able to make that in like a fraction of the time it would have cost to do anything else, have like an influencer go out there and shoot it, right? And then here's one other example. It's like a totally different, more modern day approach.
This just in, local man turns 50, claims it's fake news. We go live to our field reporter with this developing story of birthday denial.
Thanks, Don. I'm here where Bob Johnson is reportedly refusing to blow out his candles, calling the number 50, quote, totally fabricated by the mainstream media.
Look, everybody knows I'm 29. I've been 29 for years. Anything or anyone saying I am 50 is totally fake news.
For the love of God, Bob, just open your birthday card. Maybe that'll snap you out of it. It's from your golf buddies.
And that one eventually cuts into like our actual birthday card we have, like a fake news birthday card. I just had the variation that didn't have it. So again, like, are these perfect? No. There's still, especially for me, because I'm making them, like there's lots of little things that you can pick up on. But if you're just watching this, you're on a Facebook feed, scrolling through and you just see this, 90% of people, 95% of people are going to be like, the real video. Now, as a human, this shit terrifies me. I'm in a weird place right now because like what I'm experiencing, testing all this stuff, and you know, I am an advisor and part owner in a few different companies in the space. So I see like what's coming 6-12 months down the road. And yeah, I mean, it's scary because you can basically make a breaking news clip right now of somebody saying anything, and a lot of people are going to think that's real. So terrifying as a human, as a business and a marketer, this unlocks unlimited opportunity, right? Any idea you have for a video, you can now turn into a reality with VO3, which is just absolutely crazy. So one of the things we've been doing is using, so there's like this prompt, and I'm happy to share these docs and stuff after if anybody wants these. This prompt essentially for VO3 video generation, where it can kind of analyze the business, and then it understands all these things: the product, the demographic, the context of where the video should be shot, and then also has kind of an output format. So we've kind of found this to be kind of a sweet spot of the format: the scene, the who, the what, and gives you a prompt. And so this makes it easy to generate and quick to generate good prompts. Because again, with VO3, especially because it's expensive, you don't want to waste prompts because it can burn up money pretty quickly. So you want to put the effort into coming up with good prompts right out of the gate. And then on top of that, using a tool like Claude or like Chat to just come up with really, really good ideas. So like, let's see, I think this was And I'll come in here and basically say, hey, you're a world-class comedy script writers, written some of the hilarious, most popular comedy TV shows and scripts of all time, using VO3 to do this. This is the video I'm making. Give me 10, ideas. And so to come up with the kind of 10 concepts for videos, kind of a founding fathers Vegas weekend, time traveling, gift shop pitch, colonial pawn stars, different things. And then from there, I can say, okay, turn that idea into a script, detailed prompts, character descriptions. And now it'll give me kind of the scene by scene broken down by 8 seconds, because that's the max time frame that I can use for each one of these scenes. And now I can create a cohesive video in VO3. I have to make the clips individually still, because the feature to extend them isn't available yet for the VO3 model. But I can just put them in CapCut and easily just clip them all together pretty easily. Pro tip, by the way, if you are making multiple clips with the same people in those clips, make this and include this in each prompt. So basically a character description. So you notice the kid in the army video I showed you, like, again, he's a little different than everyone, but for the most part, very, very similar if you're just watching it quickly. And that's because I included a character description in every video, and it was the same character description. So the outfit, the fact that he was missing teeth, all those little things were the same. So you definitely want to make sure you include that in your prompting there. And then the same thing with, if you want to, because with VO3 you can't have products in them yet, but then there's tools out there like Creatify that we use, and I'm actually full disclosure, an advisor and a minority owner of, where you can actually generate video clips of avatars with the product, and you can use these either in their suite of tools to narrate and basically put a dialogue behind it, or you can do voiceovers. There's a lot of things you can do with it, but just from their tool, it can generate the image, and then it can turn that image into a video. So I can now have different clips of a product being, picked up, unboxed. I can have a doctor kind of holding the product and reacting to the product. And again, this is 100% AI generated. There's no real actors in here. So this was just, I uploaded the product. And again, is it perfect? No, not yet. Still little things. You saw the text kind of disappear a little bit when he tilted it. But you can obviously trim those things. And yeah, so if I'm in, Creatify, I can, basically create a type of product avatar. So whatever avatar I want to test for my product, I can create them here. I can create my own avatar. I can create if I have a fitness offer for grandparents, I can have a 65-year-old jacked, fitness dude who I can make, and I can have him holding whatever I want to hold, and create these different video clips of that I can then use for future video production. So there's so many incredible resources out there for developing a video creative. Again, either as entire videos, clips, or these additional kind of just product avatar clips that I can then narrate or put dialogue in. And then the same thing with AI static, right? With chat 4.0 and 4.1, it does an amazing job of image generation. Again, if you give it the right prompting and the right source material. But both of these, again, were created in probably a minute of total time to get to that point, and are totally AI generated. There's no human intervention here. So even this, let's go over here. You don't even need that sophisticated of prompting to get started here. So what you can do is feed it a bunch of templates. Right? There are so many resources out there with just lots and lots and lots of ad examples. I don't know why it's not popping up here, but this is basically just like graphic of like a bunch of, it's like a board of a bunch of ads. So I literally just pasted that in here and said, hey, this screenshot has a ton of winning static meta ads. I want to use as templates going forward. Can you identify them and then use them as templates for different business?
I love what you're doing here with using a board as the input into chat, because you need that research, right? Garbage in, garbage out. You need to give chat something that it can use that's actually going to be adaptive, right? You're going to get an output that's worthwhile.
Yeah,
right.
That's where Foreplay, what you guys have built is so great, because I can build that board and then I can export either those individually, or just I can even literally take this is a full screen screenshot, and it's good enough that I was actually able to identify every single ad in here just from this kind of mass screenshot. So again, definitely whoever's watching this, like keep adding more stuff to your boards, keep building that out because it's so valuable for creating ad creative at scale. But it can come in here. It identified all the ads, like really specifically. It then creates kind of templates from those different before and afters, UGC testimonials, identifies all those. And then it kind of says, hey, adaptation to different businesses. Give me a niche or a business, and I'll write out 3 to 5 fully adapted ad templates. So then I basically gave it this, said, hey, okay, conduct extensive research on this business, New Hope weight loss. And this is a rushed one. Again, if I was doing this for what we've been doing essentially for our offer is for any leads coming in, we're like quickly making statics and videos for them to just show them how quickly we make stuff because we've really templatized it. So we're making some VO3 videos, some ChatGPT images. So we obviously don't put as much effort into each one of those. If this was a client, we would do the deep research. We'd have a much more extensive prompt here. But the cool thing is like you can still get great outputs even with relatively little input. So, hey, conduct the research, understand the business, extract the content, customer reviews, product descriptions, all that. Then use the research to determine the best templates to use and give me 4 high converting metastatic ads for the business. And I gave it the logo and I gave it the product image. You want to give it that. So if it needs to use a logo, it's not going to pull something random. And again, it's not going to be perfect each time, but it does a pretty good job in a lot of these of matching the logo pretty well. And so went through, did the research, key takeaways, pricing, benefits, core offering, reviews, best ad templates to use based on that before and after. So again, it's good. It's a Ozempic type product. It recognized that number 1 recommendation before and after transformation. Then it gives me the different ads that I can approve or change if I want. If I like what I see, I can say create the ads. It'll go through. It'll fully build them out. And then it'll create them in 1080 by 1080. So then it made, the transformation ad, made this ad. This one, not that great. It kept messing up the list there. So this was kind of a wash. But then it made, one for men. I could just go in and say, hey, create a male version of this. So it does a really good job of this. And if I ever want to change anything, another kind of pro tip here, sometimes it'd be like, oh, the ad, it looks perfect, but it misspelled this one word. And it's like, crap, I can't use it. All you have to do is just copy it, go over to Canva, could drop the image into Canva, come up here to edit, go to under magic tools, go to grab text, select the text that's misspelled. So let's just say misspelled transformation. So I'm just going to click that, click grab. It's now going to make that text editable. So now I can just fix that word there and export it, and it's good to go. So you can easily fix any of those little things there. All right. I think we got one more slide. We're out of time. And then obviously questions. I know we went a little long. And kind of the last piece of this really is the analysis part of it, right? Using these tools to analyze lots and lots of data. And again, for this tool, for this purpose, Claude we use because Claude is just really, really good at coding tasks. It's very, very good at data analysis. There are some AI tools out there that specifically just do data analysis, and some are pretty good, but I'm not like, you can kind of get in this endless loop of just new tool. So What I find for myself is I really get hyper-focused on just the big ones because they're just moving so much faster. And then if there's something really, really cool out there, like, okay, I'll explore that, where it does something very, very unique that's not done well by the other tools. But with Claude, you can come in and give it there's 2 ways to do this. So there's something called actually MCP servers, which you can use now to directly integrate and connect Meta, Google, TikTok with Claude with these tools. It requires a little more know-how to do that. So the example I'm sharing right now is something anybody can do. The other option is to just bulk export CSVs. So go into your Facebook Ads Manager and export your different reports, your gender breakdowns, your age breakdowns, your just overall performance. And then running a prompt like this where you're saying, hey, you're a PhD data scientist, you specialize in analyzing large volumes of advertising data. Here's these CSVs I've given you. I want you to go through them and examine performance metrics, identify obvious, non-obvious correlations. I want you to give me a recommendation plan, all this stuff. It'll go through, analyze all the data. It'll come up with different findings, age performance gaps, device opportunities, different video completion correlations, hidden patterns you might not notice, some immediate recommendations, reallocate budget, optimize videos for this length, increase Android device targeting. So you can get some really great insights in this stuff. And you can obviously, you would want to have a conversation and go back and forth and say, hey, we'll dive deeper into this and look more for this and stuff. But you get this really nice kind of initial report on just breakdowns and recommendations and kind of sweet spot for video completion rates. Right? Even little things like this, these are things that you just as a human wouldn't be able to really get to, is that fact that, hey, videos that achieve 70% completion by 15 seconds show 30% higher purchase rates. Right? Morning placements show 18% higher ROAS for 45 plus demographic. And now some of this stuff, it's like, well, maybe there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, it's interesting to know, but I can't do anything. But you might find one or two things where it's like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that. And now I can refine my messaging, refine my creative, refine my bidding, my budgeting, my pacing to just get better performance here. This will, again, it'll break it down into kind of short-term strategies, medium-term strategies, long-term optimization strategies, give you an implementation timeline, give you kind of success metrics, risk mitigation strategies, secondary KPIs to look at. So really good stuff in here for anybody looking at kind of analyzing any type of ad performance data. Let's go back. Questions?
We've got a less topic-based question here. Will there be a recording shared later? And will you share the presentation document?
I imagine there's a recording. You guys are recording it, and I'll definitely share the deck with you guys, so I can get the link over right after this.
Justin's saying, can we get those docs, the docs they shared earlier?
Yeah, I'll include the deep research prompt, and I'll include the VO3 prompt as well. So I'll put a doc together for everyone.
Jacob's interested. He said, do you work with Jeremy's razors?
We did. They brought everything in-house and basically paused their ad spend at the beginning of the year, just unfortunately with Trump winning, it actually had like a really negative impact on the business because their whole positioning as a brand has been the woke, right? We're not like that messaging works really well when you're not in power, but when you're in power, all of a sudden it's like that messaging just totally died. So they brought everything in house, kind of reinvent the brand. But they're amazing. The team over there, like such a cool company to work with. They do a lot of amazing stuff. But yeah, that was a fun one because I had there was like a week period where I had gotten access to Shapiro's page, like Walsh's page, all their pages I could post and run stuff. And then we also did an audit for PBD, so Bet David. And so I was in Facebook and I was like, I have access to PBD's page and Ben Shapiro's page. And it was a pretty crazy day.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions, guys? I've added a link for Creatify if anyone wants to check that out. That's in the chat. Chloe says, nice.
Short and sweet.
Thank you, Chloe. Yep, short and sweet. Oh, we've got one more question.
Cool. I'm sure there's people, if they watch the replay recording, feel free to pass those questions along to me.
All right. And where can people reach you if they want to ask you a question after this?
So our website's unicorninnovations.com is the website. And then I'm on all major, if you just Google Maxwell Finn, it's any of the social channels that are there. Facebook.com/MaxwellFinn, Instagram.com/MaxFinn. So any social channel is good. And I post like every day, I post kind of deep dive marketing case studies and experiments and lots of stuff. So if you're interested in that stuff, give me a follow.
Nice. Awesome. Well, guys, we are 1 minute over time. If you have another question, feel free to drop it in the chat. But then we're going to close things out. Max, while we wait for that last question to come through. Oh, Mary says, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for coming. This was really interesting. I learned a lot.
No, of course. It was a blast. I had fun. We'll have to do it again.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Talk soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.